Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Ashley Hicks and Joe Courtney. What's up, lady and gentleman?
Hello.
Buongiorno.
Oh, God.
All right, how's life, Ashley?
Life is good. Life is different. My workouts have been different, like I talked about last podcast. So I'm having to take the intensity down, and I'm learning that it's a mindset. Like I have to tell myself that I'm not cheating, that this is healing my body and that it's okay. But it's just very different. Like I want to go fast. And so I have to tell my body to like, no, you need to back off here. So like, for example, instead of burpees, I did the bike erg today. We worked out on base. Sometimes we do that. Like we'll switch it just because there's this like sweet gym that Scott has access to. And so we'll go and nobody's in there. And Connor plays with there's like those little yoga Pilates balls and he just throws them across the room. And anyways, it's just nice to get out of the house and he gets, time playing while we do our workouts and whatnot. But yeah, so it's different, but it's been good. And hoping to, no more Meet Yourself Saturdays. That's the thing for me. Cause those are pretty intense, except like Zone 2 Murph, I think.
Yeah.
But it'll be okay. Gonna change some things up, add some things in. I'm gonna do a little more yoga and, maybe I'll get really flexy and can do like really cool flexible things. Who knows?
Maybe, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
I said in our work chat that Ashley has no chill, zero chill.
Yeah, we've been talking about it it's got to be close to, this is 50, what are we on?
54.
Podcast 54. We've been talking about how people shouldn't go high intensity all the time, like that's just something.
Like episode 1 or 2.
Yeah. And Ashley has no chill. She has to go that high intensity. So yeah, lower the intensity, not a problem. Still do the training with a little flexiness involved. Joe, how's life?
Actually good. So she is dialing things down and I'm going to dial things up.
There we go.
I finally got some more assistance. Now that we have the pergola, I can actually hang stuff up. So I got a set of rings and a full set of bands. And they came in last night. I used them today after my run. So in the past when I was doing my run days, just a normal whatever run day, I would do extra credit like pull-ups because that's all I could do on that thing. Well, now today I actually broke out the bands and did a bunch of band accessory stuff, and it felt good.
Nice.
Because only having a barbell that I can set to either 115 or 95 really limits what you can do. Like I can do presses between 7 to 8 reps of 95 or 4 to 5 reps of 115 on my knees too, by the way. I can't stand up and do them because it's in the basement. And that's about it.
I wish I could just I wish I had like a time-lapsed video of your fitness over the last several months of just like random stuff that you're doing.
That'd probably be pretty interesting because I'm in the basement. I'm in the dungeon doing them.
Talking about like from reaching in your pants to change songs to doing press on your knees and the bike and the pergola pull-ups but
all the runs.
Moral of the story is he's getting it done.
Yeah.
Like no excuses. You're doing something and it's awesome.
So yeah, the bands are, I'm very happy because today I was able to do some things that I'm just like, oh man, I think I've definitely been missing this kind of stuff. And I'll break the rings out tomorrow because of the Endure workout we got going on. It actually has ring dips. It's like, hey, perfect timing. I'll just leave them for my brother because, yeah.
And I should point you or direct you to the bands webinar we have in the members area where we talk about how to utilize bands to increase your training.
Shameless plug.
Or anyone else. If you are a member of Garage Gym Athlete, we have a bunch of educational webinars, and you can go snag one. One of them is specifically on banded training and how to add banded training on top of Garage Gym Athlete training, or just, to whatever you want. Speaking of banded training, I guess we're not really talking about banded training, but updates for me. I don't have a lot of updates. Life is good. Still being secretive about what I have going on. There is something going on.
Like you have 4 secrets going on.
I have a lot of secrets.
You have all the secrets.
Things have to be official for me to be able to talk about them, or else it's just a waste of everybody's time. So there is an announcement coming. It's only not really that big of a deal, but I'll let everybody know when it's appropriate. I think that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about for now. I can't get into all my real updates without spilling the beans.
All right, study time.
Study time. Here we go. So we covered a study called Analysis of the Load Velocity Relationship in the Deadlift Exercise. This was done in 2020. Okay. It wasn't a super cool study, but I wanted to cover it for specific reasons. Everybody has some points because really the overall, here are their key takeaways. They had, how many people was it? 50 people? 50 men with at least 2 years of training, experience in a deadlift 1 rep max, and at least 1x5, at least 1.5 times body mass participated. So strong people. And they're really just looking at how fast, how quickly can you move the bar and what that correlates to and what else they could find. And so what did they find? They found that as the weight gets heavier, you don't lift the weight as fast, which I was like, really? We got to put a team together for that one. So yeah, they found that out, but they found out a lot of other cool things. And the reason I'm interested in this is more from a programming standpoint. The whole dynamic effort thing we've talked about in other podcasts, this gives us some data to stand on with different percentages and where we would want the velocity based off of 50 different people, because I can't get velocities from Garage Gym Athletes, but I can use studies like this to be like, okay, am I actually still, programming dynamic efforts appropriately? And so they have a lot of good data in there with their normative load velocity profile. But another cool thing that was pulled from the study was the correlation to the speed of your deadlift and how it correlated to your 1 rep max in the deadlift, and that it was very accurate. So I think that's a cool thing as well. But I'd love to hear what you guys pulled from the study, and then I want to talk about some bigger picture stuff of what I think this looks like a boring study means to me and what it kind of might mean to the Garage Gym Athlete community.
I think it's always good to get different types of lifting, like velocity work and dynamic work in, because not a lot of people focus on that. There's more of percentage and weight on the bar. And there's been other ones we've gone over. I think that they had squats in there, though, and that showed, I can't remember which episode or which study was, but it was they told one person to just lift it, and they told the other person to just lift it fast. And the person who lifted it fast got better.
We covered that on the podcast, right? Was that?
Yeah, that was a study that, so I don't remember which one, but that just shows that adding that dynamic piece is great. And then now they're trying to look at it with the deadlift as well, which I think is really cool. Something that I'd really like to do, and I was looking at apps after I read the studies, that there's certain wearables now where you can actually test the velocity and speed and certain intensity with the bar or with your lifts. And I saw one where I guess it's a wearable you wear on your wrist, and it will tell you your intensity, your speed, and all these other metrics. I think it's still in the infancy stage, but I think it's something that would be cool to have down the road. And just with how Apple is getting their sleep thing, I think in a couple of years it'll be oh yeah, by the way, you can do your velocity stuff now too.
And they have other apps too that you can kind of set up your phone, and you could just tap where the barbell end is, and it'll tell you the velocity of the barbell if it can view the whole barbell. I think the app I found, forgot the name of it, but it's a $10 app. I think it's something I'm gonna try out to see if I can, because the reason I never liked that stuff before is they tell me my velocity, right? And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this information? This study gives me something to do with that information. I could be oh, okay, so here's how I can use those velocity things if an app gives it to me. Yeah,
and getting more into velocity training, I feel when I have to lift faster. It's going to be a little bit lighter load because you're lifting faster, but I think my form is better when I do it because I know I have to bend down and everywhere versus just, if I'm just lifting the weight from point A to point B, that it's just moving weight. You see it in the gym. If people that have gone to the gyms and stuff, the public ones, you'll see somebody slap a whole bunch of weight on the bar, and then it takes them 5 seconds to get them up there. And it's like, yeah, you just lifted a bunch of weight, but that did not look great. It looked pretty janky. And
47-second back squat.
Yeah, exactly. And, while it's great to have more weight on the bar, I think it's better to, lifting, if you can lift a lot of weight but still go fast, you make it look better, is also, I think was, something to good.
And that's my fear with programming dynamic effort sometimes. I mean, there's a fear in both capacities. So it's kind of scary to tell someone to do a 1 rep max if they don't have things dialed in, or if they don't have the safety, a spotter, or, spotter arms or something to help them out, which we always recommend. If you don't have those things, don't do it. Don't be the person who dies in your garage. But on top of that, it's also like dynamic effort lifting. When I use words like explosive or lifting fast, I always say right after that, with good form. Yeah. Because you can get really, if you have like 30% of the weight on 30% of your 1 rep max on the bar and you're moving really fast, you can make that look disgusting, like just really bad, and you could hurt yourself. So it has to be, like you said, Joe, like really fast, but with the best form possible. And if you don't have those two, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You're just dabbling in injury territory.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add after Joe. I pretty much took away again, being dynamic with your lifts would correlate, to strength gains and, correlate to 1 rep maxes. But I also thought about it. My mind went towards speed, and when they say velocity, it's not just about going fast. My thought too was also slowing things down. I know we do tempo work, and tempo is actually a little bit different from this, but actually slowing things down, and what we're talking about, good form here, in order to get that form and that feeling of what does a good lift look like, and then also slowing it down to potentially just a different way of training, I guess. So yeah, not many takeaways here for me. Again, not much that I can add from what Joe said. So
he stole all your points.
Scusi.
Okay, so here's the reason I like it. As I announced the last podcast, we're redoing the fitness standards, 403 fitness, and it'll take basically a full cycle to put this together. And a lot of them, like I said, are saying the same. Some are changing. But what I've been looking at, I'm really trying to pull a lot of data on, from a conditioning aspect, what are the best things that correlate to VO2 max? Because that is the hardest thing. It's very important. Like it's so important. Every study that deals with longevity, states having a higher VO2 max means you're going to live longer. Like just massive studies, hundreds of thousands of people. That's pretty well proven at this point. But it's very hard to get VO2 max data. You can get it from your Apple Watch, but I just don't think it's super accurate, because I've had it tested in a lab, and I've also compared that to my Apple Watch, and they're just so different. I'm like, okay, well, and anyway, I just don't think it's super accurate. If you're just like, hey, yeah, my Apple Watch says this is my VO2 max, it might be helpful, but I want to know what physical tests can we do to make that a little bit more accurate. So, I've been looking at 1 mile, 1.5 mile, these squat tests. There's a lot of things now that weren't around, or studies that had not been done when I first did put together these things. Like the reason we test 1.5 mile run is because 10 plus years ago when I created those standards, that the 1.5 mile run was like hugely correlative to VO2 max. And then there's a lot more information out there now. And so that's what I'm trying to put together is what else can we do? And so this is in the same vein. So with this deadlift, we covered some other studies about how jumping was possibly the best indicator of your recovery. Do you remember that one, Joe? It's like, if you jump, like, I think it was vertical jump. Like if you jump and it's the same, like you're recovered, like you're ready to go. And it was like, it was like one of the best indicators of your recovery was your ability to be explosive the next day, which I thought was pretty crazy. It's pretty interesting. And then now they're saying in this study, the faster you can move are these correlate the speed, the velocities. There you go. The velocities heavily correlate to your 1 rep max deadlift. And I'm not saying I only ever want to calculate a 1 rep max. I don't mind people going and doing that, but there have to be other tools out there that we can use for people who don't want to do 1 rep max deadlift. Like I'd be fine only doing true 1 rep maxes once a year and then utilizing like a velocity test, the other 3 times of the year when we test to predict my 1 rep max for the deadlift. And so that's why I'm kind of excited about this information, because the predictions were like awesome. And they're saying in this study that it's way better than any of those calculations. So, like Team Builder, our app, will calculate your 1 rep max for you. That, in fact, it can be annoying for some people because of if you don't lock your maxes, it's like, oh yeah, your max is way up there or something like that. But there has to be a better way. And I think that this is it. And I think that we're right at the start of all this. Joe, you're talking about wearables and all these things. Like all this is going to be so easy. Right now, it's like sounds pretty like complicated. Like, oh, I got to get my phone out and like measure a velocity of a deadlift. And yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Like you used to have to go to a lab and spend like $4,000 to find out how fast you deadlift, and now you can do it with your iPhone. And I think, like you said, there are going to be new wearables, new tech. Hell, the Garmin will probably just do it. They'll just update it. They'll just be like, yeah, your watch does that now. It's going to be that easy. And when it becomes that easy, I want to start utilizing this data to help our athletes get better in their training and have better estimates of how strong they are and what they can do, how recovered they are. Because if we could combine those two things of like, okay, not only what's your estimated 1 rep max deadlift, and this is more accurate than any calculator we can provide you, how recovered are you today? We could have a velocity speed test for your recovery instead of just going off this like, how do I feel today? You could do a velocity test and be like, yeah, you're not as recovered as you were yesterday. So I think the idea is really cool. That's not necessarily what the study was talking about 100%, but this is kind of where my brain was going with it because of all the research I'm doing right now on reformalizing our testing procedures. But it's just cool stuff. There's a lot of cool new things happening in strength and conditioning if you're a nerd.
Yeah, I actually thought of something too that was possible for testing. I kind of want to ask you about how you would feel about it. Instead of like testing a true 1 rep max where you're just going all out, lifting as much as you can, having a velocity 1 rep max to where you have to move at a certain velocity, and then you work at building the max amount of weight that you can lift at said velocity. So increasing weight at that velocity.
So you'd probably have to go to a metronome, right? You'd have to go to a tempo. You'd have to be like, so we set that at like 50 beats per minute. And then at what weight can you no longer keep that speed is what you're saying? Like, that's a good test. It's actually really smart.
Sometimes I have some good words.
Well, you may have just made this whole study a lot easier to implement for people, because if I could put a correlation to their normative values, their normative load velocity profile, if I could equate that to a tempo, you're right. You could easily build a test out of this, and then all you'd need is a metronome, which we've already programmed recently. We've been using.
When this published it, it would have already used it.
Yeah. So write that down. Yeah, we'll see if we can throw that in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later, people are gonna be like, Joe, why the hell are you talking about these metronome back squats that we have to do?
It would be brutal. I've done stuff like that before. It's not anything with a metronome is typically not fun.
Nope.
Because you have to listen to it.
Yeah, you gave me pushback when I first programmed.
I did.
You're like, I don't know about this. I don't know if it's.
So for those of you questioning the metronome and the programming, I already raised my hand.
He tried to stop me. It didn't work. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the topic. Over the next few weeks, I thought that we could cover some of these questions that we get to ask the Garage Gym athletes when we interview them all the time, because we've given our responses here and there, but it's been a while and things change. So we're going to be answering one of these as our topic over the next few weeks. And today we're all going to answer the question, if you could I'm actually going to do two, because Joe, you always ask this question after I ask it. So if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be? Question one. And then we're also going to answer, if money were no object, Joe, your question, like, what would you put in your garage gym right now? If like you could have anything in the world, money didn't matter, what would it be? And so let's do the first question first. Joe, if you only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Mine's slightly a tangent, if we're ready for that.
Let's go. I'm ready for a tangent.
So the barbell answer is kind of a cop-out.
Oh, you're just calling everybody out. Okay. He's getting something off his chest right here.
It's kind of cheating because, so if you go to a restaurant and they say, hey, would you like this steak or would you like that entire buffet? You're going to go with the buffet because the barbell comes with the plates and the rack. You're not just getting the one piece.
Okay, but what if we change it to where, okay, you can have the plates, but those plates can only be used on the barbell. You can't use them for any other activity.
Well, yeah, but it's still varying that piece of equipment or not. So my point is that's why I've brought up in the past of, if you're going to choose kettlebell, you should be able to have sets of kettlebells, like a rack of kettlebells.
Okay. All right, we're getting into the... What did you pick then? Is kettlebell?
I was like, which one?
No, mine's actually going to be, if I could get, will there be adjustable or a rack of dumbbells? Because I think I can do a lot with dumbbells. I'm not going to be able to squat as much or deadlift as much, but if my dumbbells can go up pretty heavy, they can get really heavy with those. And I can also do a lot of accessory work that you can't necessarily do with a kettlebell, but you can pretty much do everything the same with the kettlebell. And yeah, there's just a lot you can do with dumbbells. And
so adjustable dumbbells, 2 pounds up to what?
At least 70.
Okay. Solid. So you're never going to end up getting that heavy stimulus, though.
The what?
Like you'll never be able to lift that heavy. You got 140 pounds, like max weight, and you're okay with that.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just checking. I don't normally put the feet to the fire of the athletes when they're getting. I just want to.
I think it's also because of recency bias or whatever of the fact that I have a barbell right now, and I'm kind of sick of it because I only have 2 sets of weights that I can use, and I'm just like, well. Now I have these bands, I can pretty much do dumbbell exercises with the bands, and I'm happy. So I think it's all just very, very recent. Maybe
our experiences change our perception.
Yeah, and my wish list item.
No. I'm gonna move to Ashley, and then I'll answer it too. All right, Ashley.
I think if you had as cool of a barbell as mine, you would love your barbell. I'm just saying.
Yours is the American one, right?
Yes, my America bar. I love her. Anyways. I love to lift. So I said barbell when I was the first Garage Gym Athlete interview, and I am sticking to my answer. Barbell it is. I love how versatile it is. I found a newfound love for bench press. I don't know why. I hate push-ups, but I love to bench. Riddle me that, Batman. Whatever. Anyways, I love thrusters. I love all and any squats that I can do with the barbell. Sorry, not dumbbell. Yeah, I like the barbell, so that's my anser.
Have I ever answered this question publicly?
No,
I don't even know.
Jared. What is your equipment of choice, good sir?
Yeah, it's not the barbell. Yeah, which is interesting, right? I think if you asked me a long time ago when I first started asking that question, because I started asking that question Better Humanology podcast like a long time ago, it would have been the barbell. But now I'm not about that. I mean, I love the barbell, but I run through like the life experience thing Joe was talking about. There's me like having been through travel workouts and weird situations and all this stuff. Like, even if it would just like magically appear, I'm like in a hotel room and I have my barbell and weights. Like, she's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to lift this thing here, but it would be close. So I would actually like sandbag. That is kind of like what Joe's saying, so long as, because my actual sandbag is this way, has multiple different sandbags in it.
Yeah.
So I can adjust the weights. But I got the not so heavy one. I would get the heavier one so I could load it. It would be
it's like 150 or 140?
No, mine's 150 now. So I'd get the one that goes up to like 200s or 300 pounds or whatever like that. Because then I just feel like I'm covered. I could do all that barbell stuff. Like I could still kind of get those lifts. It's a little bit different, but I could also carry it, and do a lot of the other more functional things that I would do that I can't do with a barbell. I love the barbell, and I'm very much in the barbell camp, if you can tell with the sandbag selection, but I think that it would be more fun to have a sandbag if that was it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's solid.
Like you drag it, you know, like you just do a lot of cool things with it. I'm always scared to like scratch up my barbell, so I don't want to do anything to it. So that's it. We're all different.
We are.
It's good.
All right,
It is
Joe.
good.
What is it, man? Let's pretend you're back in your San Diego space with a nice setup in the backyard. What would you add to this place if money were no factor at all?
I think I'm totes going the Rogue Donkey.
The Rogue Donkey. So for anyone not familiar, explain what the Rogue Donkey is.
I was like,
It
come on.
is both a reverse hyper and a GHD that convert back and forth. It's super heavy duty.
It's like
probably
$6,000 too, right?
It's like 2.5 or something.
Oh, that's not bad.
Or wait, actually, it might be like 3. I have no idea, actually. Yeah.
And it looks hilarious, man. It's like
Ginormous.
it looks like a donkey.
It's something that I will never buy.
It's $1,945.
Okay, yeah, $2,000.
That's not that bad. I mean, I think if you bought both of those separately, that'd be more expensive, right?
Yeah, it'd be $4,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Rogue Echo is already going to happen, so that's not really a need to be on a wish list kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to go crazy.
All right, I like it. Rogue Donkey. It's awesome. You know, they have one now. I think PRX Performance makes it. It's like I think it does both of those things, so GHD and reverse hyper, but it also collapses up to the wall.
Ooh.
Like
The
the
I think I
ultimate.
saw something.
That'd be my only problem with this donkey because I have
huge.
I have a reverse hyper. I love my reverse hyper, but it takes up so much space, and it looks like I'm looking at the picture now. It is the reverse hyper just with a GHD bolted on the front. I can't even imagine my reverse hyper taking up more space than it does. But hey, those are two very awesome pieces of equipment.
Maybe it's called a donkey because when you get it to take up your space, it's kind of a jackass move.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. Like, do you have to take it apart to use the reverse hyper part? That would really piss me off. But I
I
can't
don't look
tell.
that far into it.
Wait, hold on. Here we go. I
think there's one or two of them that look pretty easy. There's like a collapsible rack kind of thing.
Yeah, I just haven't fully embraced this thing. Okay, good choice. I like it. Ashley, what would you pick?
I was going to say the GHD, but since he went down that route, I'll say
Donkey?
no, I'm not going donkey. No, but since he went down that route.
Oh,
So
got it.
GHD would be part of my list, but I would like a bike erg. I really liked the concept too. I rode this morning, so I don't know. I would like to add like a bike to my equipment. Again, a bike erg. I don't want an assault bike. I don't know. I want something that I can, still do good intervals on, but also ride for a very, very long time as well. You can ride the assault bike for a long time, I know, but
That's very different. I have had both, and it's very different.
It's a lot easier to do low intensity on just a bike, so it's gonna be good for you now.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like it's way easier for me to do zone 2 as well on the Concept 2.
Yeah.
That's just why I like whether it's rowing, I just kind of got tired of rowing, but the reason I like having that display, just the PM5, is because you can dial everything in so well. You know, you can control your heart rate really well. You can make sure that you're hitting the splits that you want. Like everything is so dialed in. You can kind of do that when you're running, like if you have your Apple Watch, but it still takes like looking and like thinking a little bit. Like, is that right? And I wish there was a PM5 that just like floated in front of your face when you're running. That'd be awesome.
We'll see Garmin's. You can set heart rate zone notification. So when I go over, it beeps and vibrates. So I know to stop.
But does it work? Because
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, is it functional? Do you feel that vibration and do you hear that beep when you're in the middle of a workout?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Because the Apple Watch, I think it's zones, or there's another one or it's intervals or something like that, where you can do the same thing. It'll tell you if you like get out of your heart rate zone that you wanted to be in. It'll tell you when it's time to switch intervals. But even with like the sounds and the vibration, every time I've used it, I'm like still doing the activity. I'm like, I really feel like 20 seconds ended. And I look and like I'm in the rest period by like 15 seconds. I'm like, oh, yeah.
You're just like in the zone too much.
Yeah, like it's not. I don't think I'm in the zone too much. I think it's not very loud.
Joe got it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, like zone 2? We're
Get
going
it
real
in the
deep there.
zone.
A couple of dad jokes.
Okay,
podcast,
whatever.
I don't know. Is mom joke a thing?
Okay.
Yeah. My mom has terrible jokes.
All right, Jared. So what's your piece of equipment?
I think it's obvious.
I think I know his.
Really?
Take a guess.
The True Form.
The True Form Runner is correct. It is $6,000. And so that means I don't know if I'll ever actually buy one, even though I really want one. But the True Form Trainer, wait, what is the difference here? It's nice being on Rogue's website. True Form Trainer is $39.95, so $4,000. But then I have the True Form Runner, which is $5,695.
Might be displays and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know the difference there, but yeah, that's what I would get because it's really expensive. I would use it all the time for the same reason I just kind of talked about with like having a PM5 in front of your face. Like I think I could dial my running in a little bit more on that. So yeah, I would go with the True Form Runner.
Have you run on one yet?
I have. Well, actually, I don't know if it was a True Form Runner. I think it may have been the Assault version at a gym. But I have, yes.
Yeah. They have them on base for the...
I actually think that's where I ran. I think I ran on one in Hurlburt like last year or something like that. They had an Assault Runner or True Form Runner or something like that. And it was fine. Like I didn't have any issues with it at all. It felt good. It's
pretty accurate too. Cause like I had it on with my Apple Watch and then obviously their screen, like the pacing and whatnot. So I just did my EO3 5K on base. So
nice.
Yeah. It was cool. Connor thought it was the coolest thing ever. The problem was he was trying to get on it with me. So I had to like make sure I didn't kill my kid while I was doing that.
The concept just makes so much sense to me because we haven't done that in any other exercise equipment where we're like, no, I will force road at you and you just jump and we'll measure the distance. Like that's what a treadmill is. And could you imagine if that's what they did with a bike? If that was their idea for the bike, is like, we'll just move the pedals as fast as we can. You try and keep your legs on them. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. That's it for that. The workout is
Dia de los Muertos. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
It is Dia de los Muertos.
All right.
So, you want to brief it?
Sure. It's basically death by is what you should call it, but it's death by 10-meter sprints. So you will set up a cone, whatever you need to do, measure out 10 meters, and you will do one 10-meter sprint, and then within a minute, and then however long you have, so let's say that takes you, I don't know, 10 seconds, maybe less, then you have 50 seconds of rest. Then the second minute, you add 2 of those. So you can do it like a shuttle run, go down and back and then down and back, and then add 3, so on and so forth until you can no longer do however many 10-meter sprints that you can do. So like, let's say you can't do 17 of them, then that's where you end. And then you rest for 5 minutes and you go on to death by push-ups. And it's the same concept. 1 push-up, 1 minute, 2 push-ups the second minute, so on and so forth until you can no longer do a certain amount of push-ups during that minute. And that is the workout.
And your goal should be 20 on both.
Yes. Oh, okay. 20 on both.
Well, no, I just threw that in there.
I was like,
because that's like atrocious.
It's basically an unachievable standard, but doable for someone. So
I think 10 would be tough. Is the sprint portion the beep test? Is that basically the beep test, or is that something different?
That's slightly different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all I'm going to say is for the sprints, you just kind of have to push yourself. And kind of what Jared said, like, you know, whether that's 20 or whether that's 15, like push yourself to the limit here. That's the whole point of this Meet Yourself Saturday. It's going to feel easy, but at the beginning, you're going to start and you're going to like, what in the world am I doing here? But then by the time you get to like 5, 6, 7, you're you're going to understand why it's a Meet Yourself Saturday. So definitely push yourself on that. And then the other piece of advice I have is we talked about form earlier. If you are warming up, like WORM, like a worm, stop doing the push-ups. Like that means your form has gone, so make sure that you are doing good form when you are doing those push-ups.
I'm going to kind of counter that and say, don't. You
have
said
bad form.
No. On the sprint one, you said try really hard. I say don't try hard until you have to.
Well,
you can literally walk
forced.
10 meters within a minute, and then you can do the same with the second.
Joe, then that's not a sprint. That's the whole point. It's a 10-meter sprint.
I mean, let's just let Joe do it.
How many minutes can you how many minutes can you get, though? That's the thing.
Well, okay. And my tips for that, did you have more tips?
No, I'll stop there. That was a fire enough tip.
Okay. So yeah, you could walk the first couple. The walking would stop pretty fast though, because
yeah.
But do push yourself. You'll find that you can always you might be able to squeeze in a little bit more. Other tips for the doing, this is like an agility type thing where you run, touch the line and go back to the other line. You're going to probably find out that you have a good side to your, everyone does. You're like, I want to reach out and touch with my left hand, or I want to reach out and touch with my right hand. I do want to encourage you to, at one line, bend down, touch with your right hand. At the other line, bend down, touch with your left hand, and not just always reach and touch with the same side, because that's going to make you a little unequal. And I don't want you to end up with like a lower back issue or something. Is that making sense, Joe? Yeah. Okay. You'll give me a look. So yeah, make sure you're doing that, because you will start to feel it in your lower back if you're not warm from like doing this agility stuff, because we don't do it all the time. That I do say go faster, as I always do, but you get more rest. So you're actually rewarded by going faster. So in Joe's example, if it took you a minute to walk 10 meters, as he would like to do on his first attempt, he's just like taking like a quarter of a step at a time. You have to immediately go into work, so you get less rest. So I say go faster. That way you can rest more in these. And that's it. I say shoot for 20. If anyone gets 20, let me know. Tag me on Instagram. Tell me you got 20, and I will shoot you a $1 bill in the mail. So,
whoa,
yeah. If you get 20 on both, on same day, like it's in this workout, not like, oh, I got 20 today and 20. I will send you a $1 bill. First person only.
I was about to be like, wow. So many people are just going to stop at 20.
Well, we're talking about doing giveaways again on the podcast, and here's the first one. So Death by 20 meter, you have to put in a ridiculous amount of work, and you get $1, and you have to be the first one to tell me. So a lot of incentive, and everyone's going to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? Thinking like just doing 20 fresh, like not even doing leading up to that would be hard.
I just know it's been done, but I don't know if it's been done back to back. So when I was physical training leader, we did death by 10 meter in the morning during PT, and a few of us got 20. And then when we got back to work in uniform, I made everybody do death by push-up, and a few people got 20. So I'm like, okay, and that's the standard. And it's really freaking hard. That's not what you should have to do. That's just what I've seen done. But again, they weren't back to back. They had like 2 hours rest in there. Okay. So I think I've sold Garage Gym Athlete pretty well here. If you want $1, because it's also, you have to be signed up for our training. So there are a lot of stipulations here. You have to be an active Garage Gym Athlete to be eligible for this $1 giveaway on the Death by 20 meter. So if you want $1, go sign up for Garage Gym Athlete. You can get a free trial at garagegymathlete.com. But really, the best part of everything that we're doing, and what I hear about all the time, is the community. It's crazy. I was on a call. This was just yesterday. I was on a call with a guy who was interested in our EO3 coaching program, and he This is not the call you're talking about. I had 2 calls yesterday. I'm only talking about. I'm talking about the less funny call.
Okay.
So anyway, I was on a call with a guy who had dabbled in many other, let's just say, online fitness communities, and I don't do that. Like I'm not in anybody else's community, obviously, where I'm just in my own. So I don't really know how anyone else is running their community. But he had been in like any one that you can probably think of or name right now. He had been in. And he had tried them all out for like 3 or 4 months at a time, and then just randomly stumbled across us. And he's been with us for like, I think it's been like 4 to 6 months, something like that. And he was just talking about how ridiculously awesome the community, like the Facebook group community is. He's like, I was blown away that people are posting all the time, that people are encouraging, like no one's a dick, for the most, only Joe. And, everyone's like super nice and supportive, and the community's awesome, and people are posting all the time, and, motivational stuff. And that's not really on me, that's on the community. So everyone listening to this who's a part of that community, who's making it awesome, thank you very much. And I do think that Joe helps by weeding out the people who have a chip on their shoulder. If you don't have a slight sense of humor and you end up working with Joe and support in some way, shape, or form, you'll probably be out. And so it's okay. It's like a litmus test for being a part of the community. Anyway, the community's awesome, and it's just cool to get that kind of validation from someone who's been with like all of your competitor, and he's like, yeah, they have Facebook groups, but like no one ever posts, and like nothing ever happens in them and stuff. And so I really do love our community. The programming is awesome too. That's pretty cool part of it as well. But if you haven't joined up, do it. And if you're part of the community making it awesome each and every single day, I do appreciate it. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.